In 2008 in Iowa, U.S., when the criminal investigators showed up at the scene, they thought it was a customary auto collision. However, soon this case refuted them. The police settled the baffling demise of 41-year-old Michelle Davis because of the CCTV film, which assisted with figuring out what truly occurred and who was behind it. Music Michelle Ann Costner was brought into the world on December 15, 1966 in Iowa. In 2008, the 41-year elderly person lived in Des Moines and had 3 kids. She was on the limit of a new stage in her life. The court nearly settled her legal documents. Michelle was anticipating beginning another life. She has proactively moved into a different condo and recorded a controlling request against her significant other Randy Davis. The family had an uncomfortable relationship in the years paving the way to the separation. Individuals depict Michelle as a cordial, dynamic individual who cherished experiences and cruisers. She functioned as a secretary for a shipping organization and delighted in regard and authority in the work environment. On Thursday, September 11, 2008, Michelle was working. Partners saw that in the wake of leaving behind her significant other, she seemed as though she disposed of a weight burdening her for a long time. On this day, Michelle was feeling great and went home around 4:30 p.m. having completed all her business. Soon after that, the 911 started getting calls from observers who informed the administrator about a mishap on Highway 235. The Mercury Sable vehicle was topsy-turvy, with a lady actually wearing a safety belt steering the ship. She was oblivious. Tragically, paramedics who showed up at the scene couldn't save her. The departed lady's name was Michelle Davis. After showing up at the scene, the police concluded that Michelle failed to keep a grip on the vehicle, which brought about a mishap anyway. The exceptionally following day, they prohibited this rendition. The measurable specialists reasoned that Michelle didn't kick the bucket from hitting her head during the rollover. The reason for her demise was a shot injury to the head. They extricated the slug and sent it for assessment, trusting it would assist with finding the criminal. The examiners doled out to this case had never experienced something like this before. While hanging tight for the consequences of the ballistic assessment, the neighborhood specialists chose to guarantee the security of individuals in the city. After all, imagine a scenario in which Michelle was an irregular casualty not picked ahead of time. Imagine a scenario in which there was a shooter that wouldn't stop at one casualty. The quantity of vehicles that drive on this highway is enormous, and every driver could be an expected objective for the upset shooter. It was vital to settle this case at the earliest opportunity. Subsequently, the police began watching the city all the more frequently when obviously Michelle's passing was not unintentional. Investigators went to the crime location expecting to comprehend where the shooter could be and whether he left any follows, but it brought no outcomes. They found neither the cartridge case nor whatever other proof that could be useful to the examination. Also, since the police at first accepted that Michelle was the casualty of an auto collision, the traffic administrations cleared the site subsequently. Regardless of whether there was any proof, it was hopelessly obliterated. Yet in spite of all this, the criminal investigators didn't depression and expect to find a few solutions by exploring the accounts from traffic cameras. These days, CCTV cameras frequently assist the police with settling different cases, and this case was no exemption. Having the accounts from the traffic cameras available to them, the examiners quickly started to concentrate on them. First, they expected to find the recording from the camera nearest to the crime location and rewind it to when individuals began calling 9-1-1. 30 minutes after the fact, the specialists found what they were searching for. The video showed Michelle's vehicle lying topsy-turvy. Anyway, the nature of the recording wasn't great, so the video was more similar to a slideshow as independent rotating pictures with stretches between them. Thus, the examiners had a couple of vital shots, none of which showed what prompted the rollover of Michelle's vehicle. It was an upsetting improvement in light of the fact that the specialists were certain they previously had the important sign. However, tragically, it was a misleading expectation. All that stayed for the police to do was to keep checking the leftover camera accounts and search for potential onlookers. While the police group kept on concentrating on the accounts from other traffic cameras, the examiner doled out to the Michelle Davis case went to her family to illuminate them that her passing was not a mishap as at first expected. Hearing that Michelle was the casualty of a wrongdoing put her family in shock. Michelle's mom, Patty, kicked the bucket well before Michelle's life finished. Concerning her dad, Michael Lee Costner, it was the deficiency of his second Little Girl. His most memorable Little Girl and Michelle's more established sister Cheryl Sue Costner kicked the bucket in 1965 when she was around 1 year old, and presently 43 years after the fact Michael Costner has lost another kid. Outlasting the youngsters is the most exceedingly terrible thing guardians can go through. Michelle's family told the Examiner her life was slowly changing, referencing she had no monetary issues anyway. The family accepted that the main individual who could hurt Michelle was her significant other Randy Davis. After all, the court nearly settled their separation, and she documented a controlling request against him. Simultaneously, one more criminal investigator visited the organization where Michelle attempted to converse with her partners. That is the way the examiners discovered that Michelle had a cozy relationship with one more man subsequent to saying a final farewell to her significant other. This man's name was Matt Jorgensen, and he was her associate. As per Michelle's companion, the sentiments between this couple were common anyway. Since Michelle was currently separating from Randy Davis, they chose to keep their relationship a secret, so just a few partners and dear companions had some awareness of it. Consequently, the police currently had two potential suspects, Randy Davis and Matt Jorgensen. Endeavors to contact Randy were fruitless. All calls went directly to phone message concerning Matt. The examiners met with him to pose inquiries about his whereabouts. Upon the arrival of Michelle's demise, he concealed nothing, conceding he and Michelle had a close connection. As he said, they never contended or had battles. The man was stunned by Michelle's passing, so he told each detail of what he was doing on the day she kicked the bucket. His plausible excuse looked at, and the police rejected him from the rundown of suspects. When the consequences of the ballistic assessment came, it became realized that the weapon of the wrongdoing was a .22 type rifle. Specialists finished up it was a short proximity shot. Besides, since everything occurred while driving on the highway, the police accepted the shooter was doubtlessly in one more vehicle that drove close to Michelle's vehicle. Simultaneously, this case had another suspect. The police got a call from the insurance agency and revealed that Michelle's sibling Todd was guaranteeing installment under her life coverage. Wrongdoings carried out with the rationale to get cash under extra security are entirely typical, yet was this case one of them? Might Todd at any point have taken his sister's life to get this payout? The investigator went to his home to pose a few inquiries when he began cross-examining Todd about where he was when Michelle kicked the bucket. The last option understood. The police thought of him as a suspect. He told all that he was doing on the day of his sister's passing. Todd said their family was in a troublesome monetary circumstance and couldn't coordinate a fair memorial service for Michelle. Consequently, he went to the insurance agency since he really wanted the cash for Michelle's burial service. The police checked Todd's explanation and discovered that he was in one more area of the city at the hour of Michelle's demise. Thus, Todd wasn't the person who shot her anyway. Todd actually gave the police data that permitted them to find another suspect, Michelle's stepson Josh. At the point when Michelle wedded Randy, he previously had a child from a past marriage. At the hour of Michelle's passing, Josh was at that point a grown-up. He was a Marine who got back from the military without further ado before somebody lethally injured Michelle. Out and about, Josh knew how to deal with weapons, which made him one of the suspects. The police began dissecting whether Josh had thought processes in carrying out this wrongdoing. In the meantime, the police got another hint. A lady revealed that she was driving on Highway 235 around the same time and simultaneously when Michelle's vehicle turned over. As per the guest, she saw a red pickup truck, probably a Passage F-150, whose driver acted peculiarly, starting with one path then onto the next. It gave the feeling that he was pursuing somebody. The lady portrayed the driver as a grown-up white man in a baseball cap, and that is all she could see. This new data appeared to be significant, so the examiners began checking it. They again diverted to film from the traffic cameras, yet presently they zeroed in on finding whether there was a red pickup truck close by, and the lady was correct. The film showed a red pickup truck following Michelle right from her work environment. Yet again, the nature of the recording kept the police from seeing the driver's face and the tags of the red pickup truck. Subsequent to evaluating the accounts from different cameras, examiners finished up the red pickup truck was driving along a similar course as Michelle, following everything she might do. It was not really an occurrence. Besides, when Michelle was moving toward the spot of her demise, the pickup truck was exceptionally not far behind her. This data proposed that the lawbreaker discharged his unequivocal shot while driving in view of a few suspects. Analysts immediately found that Michelle's better half Randy Davis possessed a red pickup truck. Criminal investigators quickly went to his home. Randy was not at home, but rather his child Josh was there. He was a Marine who knew how to deal with weapons expertly and could approach his dad's vehicle. Josh let criminal investigators know that upon the arrival of Michelle's passing, he and his sister went out to shop, after which he got back and gone through the night sitting in front of the television. He said that Michelle's separation from his dad was a strenuous interaction in light of the fact that in addition to other things she needed to get a portion of the house estimation. Josh likewise said his dad returned home around 5:30 p.m. that day. Josh's story didn't look persuading. Besides, this discussion clarified that he could have a rationale in carrying out the wrongdoing. Josh was exceptionally disappointed that his stepmom chose to remove a portion of his domain from him during the separation cycle with his dad. However, these were only suspicions with practically no actual proof, and no proof means no capture and no charges. While Michelle's family arranged for the memorial service, the police looked for new leads. The police started to circumvent every one of the shops and corner stores along the course from her work environment to where she kicked the bucket, expecting to find extra reconnaissance film. A couple of miles from the shipping organization where she worked, there was a store where the police found another recording vital to the examination while the observation camera was inside the store. It actually caught piece of the parking area on September 11, 2008, the day Michelle passed on a red pickup truck headed to the store and left at the entry at around 4 p.m. The police realized the pickup truck had a place with Randy Davis, yet since his child Josh likewise approached it, they expected to figure out which one was driving it that day. The recording showed the driver leaving the vehicle and entering the store anyway. Because of the low quality of the video, specialists couldn't decide if it was Josh Davis or his dad Randy. Sooner or later the man vanished from the camera's field of view. However, inevitably he returned, bought something and left the store. Then he moved into his vehicle and drove away. I need to advise you that this occurred at 4 p.m. while Michelle went home at 4:30 p.m. The police kept dissecting the recording and found that throughout the following 30 minutes the pickup truck got back to the store a few times anyway. The driver didn't leave the vehicle, however, convoluted and drove away once more. The last time the pickup truck showed up close to the store was when Michelle went home unfit to distinguish the suspect. The police again attempted to contact Michelle's spouse Randy Davis. The last option at last reached out and appeared at the police headquarters. The specialists clarified for him his freedoms, explaining he was not nabbed. Randy consented to respond to certain inquiries they posed to what he was doing on September 11. Randy referenced going through the burdensome separation technique with Michelle. After all, they were hitched for a very long time. He likewise said he functioned as a craftsman and was working that day. When asked when he returned home, Randy wavered, yet later said he was home at 3:45 p.m. It gone against the reconnaissance film and didn't compare to the declaration of Josh, who said that his dad got back home around 5:30 p.m. Randy said he didn't venture out from home after 3:45 p.m. He expressed he was home alone. However, at that point his child Josh came and they prepared supper together. This data again went against Josh's declaration, who told specialists he was at that point home when his dad came. The plausible excuses of the dad and child relied upon one another, and in the wake of chatting with Randy, the agents understood that one of them was lying. To see Randy's response, examiners informed him that Michelle kicked the bucket from a shot, not from wounds supported during a fender bender. After every one of the main individuals who realized about it were Michelle's family. In light of the fact that the police didn't unveil this data, Randy essentially didn't respond to this news in any capacity, basically claiming to be shocked and bringing down his eyes. After the police asked him when he had last seen Michelle, Randy requested a legal counselor. Subsequently, the discussion was over. The examination had neither the weapon used to end Michelle's life nor whatever other critical proof that could act as a reason for capture, so they needed to deliver him on September 15, 2008. 4 days after Michelle's demise, her loved ones assembled for a memorial service function. Randy Davis was likewise among the people who came to express farewell to Michelle. With his entire appearance, he attempted to show that what had happened was a weighty misfortune for him. He even burst out crying eventually. Yet who was liable for the Passing of Michelle Davis. The specialists did all that could be within reach to answer this question rapidly. Help came from where nobody expected. Josh Davis entered the police headquarters with his legal counselor and said he needed to say something. As per his assertion, his dad's vehicle was left in the carport. When he got back from his sister, he went into the house and saw his dad there with a firearm in his grasp. Randy told his child it would be better in the event that he didn't come. Currently, as per Josh, he comprehended what his dad was doing. He attempted to stop him, imploring him to avoid things he would lament later, yet Randy actually moved in the vehicle and drove away. When he returned, he drove the vehicle into the carport. Josh went to the carport where his dad admitted that he had shot Michelle. Randy Davis was disturbed that his significant other petitioned for legal separation and chose to sue him for part of the property. He was unable to acknowledge this and chosen to go to extraordinary lengths. On September 11, 2008, Randy left his red pickup truck outside the store and trusted that Michelle will go home. He drove past where Michelle worked a few times, reluctant to miss the second it made sense of why Randy showed up on the store's CCTV film a few times after Michelle went home. He followed her. When the right second came, he moved down the traveler side window and terminated. In view of Josh's declaration, the police captured Randy Davis. He got the main degree charges for ending the existence of Michelle anyway. Prior to going to preliminary, Randy marked an arrangement conceding to second-degree hardship of life in return for a milder sentence. In light of this, 53-year old Randy Davis was condemned to 50 years in jail in 2010. His blameworthy supplication implies there won't be a preliminary. By not having a preliminary, perhaps we missed equity a tad, yet you realize we got what we needed. We realized he made it happen and he conceded that he did it, says Michelle's sibling Todd Kostner. He said Davis had obliterated their family. I cherished Randy. He was essential for my family for a very long time. I thought often about him, said Todd Kostner.